Kineko II is identical to the original Kineko. We saw that a few episodes ago, and I was going to make this a fairly quick video. Except, there is one extra special thing about Kineko II. Kineko II is the first disk rewriter kiosk exclusive game. As a quick refresh, the kiosks were one of the big selling points of the Famicom Disk System. Your game disks weren't permanent, you could take them into a store, pop it into an automated machine, and for a much smaller fee, get a whole new game written to it. It was a video game vending machine. So far, all of the Famicom Disk System games that I've shown, you'd be able to go into a shop, pick them up off a shelf, pay for it at the counter, and you were done. But for Kineko II, you already had to have a disc. Of course, Kineko II also cost a lot less than other games. It was only 500 yen to have your floppy disk rewritten, though there was a small additional fee if you wanted the manual. We'll be seeing more of these rewriter kiosk exclusives as we get deeper into the disk system's library, particularly toward the end when it was almost all rewriter. The Kineko games are based on a computer game, which was released for the MSX. The concept is that you're solving a jigsaw puzzle, but the picture is animated instead of static. Kineko II has 10 new pictures in it, and the challenge of the puzzle is that many of the pieces look very similar. At least very similar when there's no action happening there. You'll have a bunch of chunks of sky, for example. But then some action will occur in the frame, and give you an idea of how the piece should be orientated and what it connects to. And this came up with the first Kineko game, but it needs to be restated. Having as many as 48 animated pictures on screen, with the graphics often misaligned and the animation sometimes playing backwards or upside down, and maintaining that animation as you move a tile around the screen, is completely bananas for the Famicom. The Famicom has a fairly limited number of sprites it can draw, and what can be done to animate the background is even more restricted. So they were doing some weird black magic to make this work on the Famicom. And apparently it was weird black magic that wasn't compatible with the later AV Famicom hardware revision. Since I'm playing on genuine hardware, it scrambles the graphics a bit. For the 10 puzzles, when you start the game, you play them as 16-piece puzzles. After you clear a puzzle that way, then you could play it as a 24 or 48-piece puzzle. If you manage to clear all of the puzzles in their 48-piece configuration, there actually is a short ending congratulations screen. The way the interface works is that the A button is used to select and manipulate pieces, while pressing and holding the B button will let you slide the piece bin at the bottom left and right. To flip a piece, you first have to activate the flip buttons on the left-hand side, and then click on the piece. And you can flip the orientation of an entire row or column by selecting the edge of the puzzle. For puzzles where there's no real indication what orientation you should be using, the game doesn't really care. But for other puzzles, keep an eye out for text, and remember that things fall down. If you just can't get enough of moving puzzle action, there is one more game in the Kineko series. Sega themselves ported Kinetic Connection, which is what Kineko is short for, and they brought it to the Game Gear with a series of Sega-themed puzzles. I mentioned in the first Kineko video that I kinda liked the game. It's a fun spin on the jigsaw puzzle, with some surprisingly crafty images that you're trying to solve. It might not be the most pulse-pounding game we'll see in the Famicom Disk System library, but it is an enjoyable one.